Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The ambassador, professors, doctors
You're
here
on mute.
present.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Oh, really?
I can hear her. Yusuf?
We can hear you. We can hear you very well.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Hear you.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's special section on the United Nations World Creativity and Innovation Day, UNIDO Global Call, Sustainable Development Goals, and Broad-Based Investment in Africa. I am Gloria Chiwendi-Budiegu. It is my pleasure to be the moderator of today's conference. And I will first by introducing all our guest speakers for today's conference series. In no particular order, I will want to introduce the ambassador, the Consul General Chimezie Okoma-Ogu, Consulate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Shanghai, Professor Olufemi Sabu, the Director at the Institute of Nigerian-China Development Studies, University of Lagos, Famakola Adeniji, the Managing Director, the Chief Executive Officer of Ninji Group, Ms. Chinyere Luke, the Chief Executive Officer of Eat Healthy Palm Oil Production Limited, Mr. Yusuf Fadairo, the coordinator of Wasomi Charity Foundation, and Dr. Elijah, the President, Organization of African Academic Doctors, and Dr. Ademola Shoberu. This particular conference is presented to us by the Organization of African Academic Doctors and Wasomi Charity Foundation. First of all, we would have the opening remark by the ambassador, the Consul General, Ambassador, I don't know if he's here.
Hello, I'm here. Good evening, moderator.
Oh, good evening, sir.
Hello, moderator. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Please, can you hear me?
Hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Please, can you hear me? Please, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
The opening remark will be given to us by...
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, okay, sir.
So just give a moment, we'll confirm with him what seems like there's a challenge with his audio.
Okay.
Yeah, just a moment.
While we await the opening remark by the ambassador Chimezie Okoma, the Consul General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Hello.
Shanghai. The goal of this conference is to bring together stakeholders of different sectors to exchange ideas, share best practices, and strengthen the platform for collaboration in support of sustainable development goals in Africa. Please, friends, join me to welcome the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Consulate in Shanghai, Ambassador Okoma Chimize Ogun.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Am I on? Can
Yes,
you hear me?
we can hear you, sir.
Good evening, sir. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, first of all, let me say my video is disabled from your end. I cannot so, but it's not a problem. The most important is my voice and the little remarks I will put for.
Sorry, sir, please, you may try it now. It should be able
for the.
to be active now. Please try your video now. Okay, sorry.
Okay, I think, yeah, it's on now. It's on. It's on now.
Yes,
Okay,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's on now.
okay. Great.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Like the moderator have already introduced me, and I want to quickly say thank you for the invitation and the honor to be part of this wonderful meeting put together for these bright minds and other participants in the meeting to brainstorm and bring forward some ideas that will help our continent, Africa. I want to really thank the organizers, the Organization of African Academic Doctors, and the Wasomi Charitable Foundation for bringing us together this evening. I'm participating from China. We all know the time now. Quickly, let me say that the idea of, I will go straight to the issue of sustainable development goals of the global body, the UN, trying to help third world countries, developing countries, to be able to meet up some thematic goals on the development line that will be able to make them to their people be able to bring up the level of development of their people to catch up with the rest of the developed world. Having said that, let me quickly say that this meeting is very timely because I know we have been talking about sustainable development from Millennium Development Goals, but from African point of view, can we say there's anything, a report card we can show as a continent that we have done something from the era of Millennium Development Goals to this very era of Sustainable Development Goals? And having said that, let's look at what are the indices of these development goals, the thematic issues, goals, the global body set for nations of the world, mostly the third world countries, to aspire and realize for their people. If you look at it from the African point of view, is there any parameter like I say, is there any that we can say, oh, yes, our people, they can do something by the world body. It's not set for the developed countries. It's for the developing countries, mostly the African countries. With the exception of Kigali, that is Rwanda, that is doing very well. But I beat my chest to say that if anyone can prove me wrong, there's no other fulfillment of the life and welfare of their people. A kind of reawakening, a rethinking among the policy makers in government. What are we doing? In which area have African continent, the countries have tried to look at how they can better the lot of their people. If you look at the health area, it's nothing to talk about. You talk of education. Is it youth empowerment? Is it gender equality, agriculture, the maternal mortality? Just name it. It cannot, in any of these thematic issues, score Africa even 30%. And for us, for one to say sustainable development, you have to talk of, is there anything on ground you are trying to sustain? That is the problem. That is the challenge. That is the big question among us. You see a country that, instead of catching up with the advanced country, the rest of the world in education, we are still lacking behind. I will use the host country where I'm serving, Nigeria, as an example. This is a country that they have a rolling plan for the life of the people of their country. The young men and women who are supposed to marry and start reprocreating for the new generation, they go into, survey and find out why is the young men, women not married. And then government will come out with a policy to address these issues and reach out to this very particular demographic sector. You see how a country that serious works. And the marriage of the young men and women, the youth, as a very small example that a country, if the government can look into this area about the coming together of young men and women to come into a union as a couple, so that they can reproduce the next generation that will take over from the present one. That will tell you that the country is really working. I don't want to go into education. I don't want to go into agriculture. I don't want to go into aviation, technology. These are areas you can see the manifest workings of the government of the day. But in Africa, what can we really say that is really working? Is it a good rules we can boast of? Is it health? Not that we don't have what it takes, but the problem is the managers of the government, various government agencies have failed to live up to to make sure that they put a rolling plan in various areas of the people's life, the country's life, and make sure that they will work towards improving the life of the people, sustain if there's any growth, if there's any progress bounds. But because none of these things are really in place, it's not working. I will tell you the truth, most civil servants who are supposed to run the government machinery in African countries, the they kind of, try to think outside the box. What can we do? Which area can we improve the life of our people in these various sectors? So it's a thing of concern. And maybe this meeting is a kind of a welcome idea, so that it can reawaken the minds of our leaders, the bureaucrats as well, that this is a call for us to look back and see how we can do the needful. We are not doing for any other person, but for ourselves, for our own good. You'll be able to, put measures in place, do surveys, a rolling plan for every sector of our national lives. Even here in the host China, I was surprised. I read in the newspaper that the government were able to look at the welfare of the aged people, the retired in the country, and find out how they are doing, and be able to put policies and programs in place that will help them. These are the things, government should be able to do, and be able to move their citizens in the area of increasing life. These are the things for too much, if you ask me. Thank the organizers again, and the panelists who will be speaking on this platform, that their contributions, all the ideas, their experience, and the areas they think that the continent is, falling behind, they will bring it to the fore. We discuss it, and by the time we end the meeting, we put it together as a policy document, which the organizers of the meeting will find a way to take it to the appropriate, relevant, authorities in Africa, maybe the African Union Commission, to look at it and review it and look at what was, being offered here as a solution to this issue, and be able to adopt it as a policy document for the African leaders in their respective countries. I want to, on this note, to just say thank you again. I wish this conference a successful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, the
Thank you, sir.
Consul General of the Nigerian Federation
Thank you, sir.
in Shanghai. Thank you, Ambassador Chimezie Okoma Ogun. Thank you for the opening remark. This conference series is brought to us by the Organization of African Academic Doctors and Wasumi Charity Foundation, and also in partnership with Next Level Education Foundation International, Together People International, Ants Plan World Family Forum, Shanghai Mingei Institute of Learning Organizations, Asian African Alliance of Learning Organization, Ninjin Group, Diplomontage Productions, and the Institute of Nigerian China Development Studies, University of Lagos. We'll continue with the conference agenda, and friends, permit me to welcome our speaker on rural revitalization through modern agriculture, role of stakeholders, agencies. Permit me to welcome Professor Olufemi Sabu, Director at the Institute of Nigerian China Development Studies. Professor Olufemi Sabu is a professor of development macroeconomics with special interest in financial inclusiveness Economic Livelihood and Sustainable Development in the Department of Economics of the University of Lagos, Nigeria. He is an expert in economic impact assessment and policy modeling, scenario analysis, simulation, and optimization. He has more than 50 publications to his credit. He is a member of Nigeria Economic Society, African Econometric Society, and Economic Society South African Research Fellow of Initiative for Public Policy Analysis, African Property Tax Initiative, and many more. He is the director at the Institute of Nigerian-China Development Studies, University of Lagos. Prof, we are happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, and also want to appreciate the organizer for giving me the opportunity to be part of this important forum where we are discussing Africa and African relationship with China, where we are looking for opportunities that can be mutually benefiting to both sides as well, and how we can leverage on our potentials to be able to have a greater world and a better living for people. So today I will be speaking on the title, Rural Revitalization Through Modern Agriculture, the roles that my institute, the Institute of Nigerian-China Development Studies, has played over the period. So if you permit me to share my screen, as I've done now, and then let me just use my few minutes to interact with this topic, and again to also take comments, and then again we then see where we can also move it forward. So as we said, Nigeria as a country today is the largest economy in Africa, and also is one of the leading agricultural sectors in Africa as well. As of today, agri sector in Nigeria constitutes more than 22% of the GDP, and also Nigeria has over 70 million acres of land for its agricultural activities and produce several products. For instance, Nigeria is one of the leading cassava producers with around 57 million. And in terms of livestock, it also produce around 76 millions of goat, sheep as well, 43 million, cattle as well, and in poultry is around 180 million. Recently, Nigeria is also trying to come up in terms of rice productions, and today Nigeria is covering more than 60% of local consumption of rice as well, whereas before we only made around 30%, and that constitutes around 57 million. So Nigeria, as it is now, is a country that's blessed in terms of natural resources, that again also blessed with human resources as well. And much of agricultural activities takes place in the rural areas in Nigeria, because most urban areas are for commercials and industrial activities. So these rural areas face serious challenges in terms of development, and as well as even food security. As more people move to the cities, less people are available in the rural areas for farming. So as the demand for food increases in urban areas, the supply of food in the rural areas is dwindling. Therefore, there is a problem of maybe food insecurity in Nigeria. But the rural areas that have provided this as well is facing a lot of challenges, suffer a lot of lack of investment. Most of people in the agricultural sectors do it in subsistence level. They lack machineries, they use outdated infrastructures, and more importantly, the land tenure system adopted in Nigeria makes it difficult for one to do commercial farming. And again, the type of farming practices adopted are traditional one. And again, there are attitudinal challenges where people refuse to adopt new practices as well. And this provided a serious challenge for the sector. Why Nigeria is facing these challenges, the China community and the country as a whole has gone far, and today has become the global leader in modern agricultural techniques, technologies, and providing valuable insights and the lessons that we can learn in Nigeria as well from these technology innovations, if we collaborate and again we work together. So it is in these perspectives that the Institute of Nigerian China Development Studies in University of Lagos is trying to look beyond research, trying to look beyond ordinary economic data as well, to see how we can work with our Chinese partners to support actual development in Nigeria by ensuring that there is some element of technology transfer, capacity building in our agri sectors. So our institute was founded on the basis that we want to use research, academic exchange to foster collaborations and mutual learning between Nigeria and China in order to address the challenges in a way that creates positive gains and then improve socioeconomic activities in Nigeria. So what is the importance of this rural revitalization, and how can we do it to ensure that at least we have the full benefit of it? So as we know, rural revitalization is essential if we are to achieve our sustainable development goals. By investing in modern agriculture and empowering the people in the rural communities, we are sure that we will be able to achieve certain objectives, and some of these objectives are listed here for our understanding. Number one, food security. Without empowering people in the rural areas and providing them with technologies, there's no way we can achieve at least even 1 and 2 of the development goals, that is food security and then zero hunger. And without food production in higher quantity and in larger volumes, that we may see continue to suffer from unstable food supply as well. But this can be done only through modern agricultural practices. And to do that, we must ensure that the farmers who are working in this area are empowered in all forms of that you can do by improving the quality of their yields, reducing post-harvest losses, and ensuring that we minimize environmental impact on them. Economic growth and sustainability is another thing that we see as an objective that we can achieve through the revitalization. The agri sector, as it is now, has potential, great one, to create jobs and income in rural areas, and by lifting several millions of Nigerians out of poverty and contribute to national economic development. As we know today, more than 70% of Nigerians work in agricultural sectors, and yet agriculture is poor. So what is required is to empower this sector to ensure these people be able to earn a living wage and again higher income that will take them out of this poverty. The more they are empowered, the more the economy grows. So again, the objectives of rural revitalization again can also be to create social inclusion, to ensure gender balances, and again redress the urban-rural migration by encouraging people to even stay and work in the rural areas. This will help us to address the youth unemployment as well as people social unrest that are really becoming a stigma to the government as well. And more importantly, it will foster a more stable and inclusive societies in Nigeria. So in our institutes as well, given these goals, what have we been doing? So we have been engaging in so many activities to ensure that we also part of these goals of social inclusion, economic growth, and other things that can encourage at least the rural areas to develop and to ensure that the food security is actually secured, adequate, and accessible as well in the quantity that is required and at the time that is required. So part of what we are doing is to facilitate the exchange of knowledge, expertise between Nigeria and China in this field. And one, our institute, in partnership with several organizations, engage in research that involve all disciplines within the university and outside to ensure that agricultural technologies, practices, as well as their potential applications are carried out in Nigeria. And again, doing this as well, ensure that our findings is not only for academic promotion, but also I exchange with the government of the days and other stakeholders in these sectors. We do also carry out these pilot projects and design it as well. And again, some consultancy as well we do for private organizations as well. As a university as well, our major focus is to train people, to build capacity, to create knowledge, and again, to disseminate knowledge. Our institute also supports in this respect. We organize workshops, seminars, training courses as well to see how we can empower the actual professionals and again, enlighten the policymakers areas where they can improve on the activities as well. More also again, we engage in policy advocacies and engagement to see when we have new findings to exchange with people who are concerned. So I want to share one of our success stories as well that we have done. And again, Dr. Niji will bear witness to this because we work together as part of the current stage of this project in Oyo State. Oyo State government, when this administration was coming on board, put up a body to be able to address even challenges of COVID-19, where we work together with the energy company and some other stakeholders as well to develop food security during COVID-19. Today, Oyo State is one of the countries that COVID-19 challenges were not affected significantly because of these proactive measures taken by the government. So we come together, look at how do we ensure that the farming communities in Oyo State were able to respond quickly to this need. And we brought in all our expertise and we were able to come up with something. The aftermath of this was the establishment of Oyo State Agricultural Business Development Agencies that were developed to be able to see how can we create small businesses, develop existing ones in rural communities in Oyo State. Through this framework, the state has been able to revitalize agricultural productions and also use it to drive employment and income generating capacity in Oyo State. Today, Oyo State is one of the countries that's now highest in agricultural productivity in Nigeria. Through collaboration research proposal again, we are also working with the Oyo State government to now take stock of SMEs in the agricultural value chains. Why are we doing this? We want to identify which of the value chains is lacking and that need to be empowered. For instance, we are taking it from input provisions, productions, processing, marketing. Today, there is a project being done by Oyo State now, whereby farmers can take his cassava to a factories. From beginning to the end till marketing, through that factory, you get it out. And this is the way of empowering the farmers to ensure that we reduce the waste. In Nigeria, only 20% of cassava products actually end up to be the actual product. The remaining are byproduct. So with this kind of initiatives, then we are ensuring that the farmer gets values and then increase productivities in this respect. So what are the lessons that we learned and what are the things that need to be addressed? Number one, we realize that there's need for local content matters, that where we can talk about we are taking technology that has been adopted in other countries, that in Nigeria, this technology needs to be at least domesticated. We have a lot of fabricators in Nigeria that can also assist in fabricating this kind of technologies, and I think we need to adopt that. Then we need to... Hello?
Yes, please carry on. We can still hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, Prof.
Okay, so I said the local content matters a lot. And we need to ensure that whatever we are bringing in to Nigeria must be adapted to Nigeria environment, where we just argue that because a technology is being used in other countries, they must be used in Nigeria, as failed in many occasions as well. What we need to do is that when we understand our soil types, our cultural practices, we should go ahead with our partners in China again to develop those technologies to suit our own, not exactly what they use in China that was used there, because some instances we find that some technology brought to Nigeria actually did not work, despite the billions of naira spent on them. Then again, in Yoruba language, you said you cannot shave somebody's head in his absence. There's no way we can talk about rural development without incorporating rural people in the planning and execution. So we must ensure that these people who are going to use the technologies, who are going to do these farming, are part of the planning and implementation of project. So everybody must be involved and they must be inclusive in the process. Collaboration, there's no way an organization can solve all this problem. We need to collaborate with both local and international agencies as well, NGOs, private institutions, research institutions, and academics as well. By coming together, we can address this problem holistically. Then again, in talking about collaboration further as well, then also we need to work with at least the funders as well, seeking projects, research funding overseas as well, to see how we can improve our current research. And lastly, continuing learning adaptations. We know knowledge is changing fast and skill is improving. And what we know yesterday may not be useful today. So we need to now to update our knowledge. Our research institutions, academic institutions need to adopt new technology, again, improve their curriculum to ensure that what is being taught, what is required, what is relevant, and what also can lead to better outcome as well. So in conclusion, our work at the Institute of Nigerian-China Development Studies is just beginning, but we're optimistic about the potential for modern agriculture to transform Nigerian rural communities through research, training, pilot projects, advocacy, we are committed to foster the exchange of knowledge and expertise between Nigeria and China, and to harness the power of modern technology to revitalize our rural area. As we look to the future, we invite all stakeholders, government, private sectors, civil societies, and international partners as well to join us in this mission. Together, we believe we can create a better, sustainable environment for Nigerian rural communities and in turn for our nation as a whole. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I appreciate the challenge, and I'm looking forward for collaborations and engagement in the future. God bless you.
Wow, thank you so much, Professor Olufemi Sabula. Thank you so much, Prof, for sharing your thoughts with us on rural revitalization and the case study of Oyo State, as well as the importance of involving the rural members or the rural community for development and sustainability. Thank you, Prof. Friends, we would invite our second speaker. He would talk to us on success story on funding innovative agricultural solutions in Africa. He is Farmer Kola Adeniji, the Managing Director, the Chief Executive Officer of Ninja Group. He is a trained mechanical engineering technologist with over 25 years experience working on diverse agro-aligned projects across Nigeria and Africa. He is a prominent stakeholder in the agro-aligned machinery and equipment fabrication in Nigeria, and he holds enviable positions in cassava value chain businesses in Africa. He is the founder and the chairman of Ninja Group, comprising 4 other subsidiaries: Ninja Local Nigeria Limited, Ninja Farms and Alliance Services Limited, Ninja Food Nigeria Limited, Ninja Institute of Sustainable Agriculture, and Ripples Hotel and Nightclub in Nigeria. Operating in agricultural machinery fabrication, crops and livestock production, food processing, Center for Learning Profitable Agriculture and Hoteling, tourism, business sectors. He has won several awards, including Century International Quality Era Award, Gold category, Geneva, Switzerland in 2015. Please permit me to welcome Farmer Kolawole Adeniji. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon from Nigeria and good evening from people from China. My name is Farmer Kola Adeniji. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol, and my co-speakers, I say good afternoon to you. So I will use my own case study as a success story on funding innovation and agricultural solution in Nigeria and Africa, because I work in Nigeria and I work in most of the African countries. So I should be able to say something. I was born in the 60s. I had my training schools. I work in Guinness. I established my first company in 1991. And from there, I think I'm having 6 different companies now. And I'm operating cut across African countries. So this is my picture when I started almost 32 years ago. So the bag you saw, it was my mobile office, whereby I have all my engineering tools inside, looking for what could be done then. So, and I was able to develop the business up to this level without borrowing money. So I'm happy that the organizer of these programs are putting something good together to make sure that the solution for Africa is in Africa. Like Professor Swab rather said, that you can't do something without involving us. And we've seen a lot of countries whereby they bought machines from other countries, and up to today, they don't work. I've been to different African countries. I've seen a lot of machines even brought from even China and spending millions of dollars on, and they did not work out today. There's some who is in China, in Cameroon, in DRC, in different parts of African countries, without involving the people that knows about it. So then I've said it, we have Niji Lucas, Niji Foods, Niji Foods, Niji Novo. Those are the companies we have. Presently, we're working on the feed mill. So then within our competence area is farm operation, food processing, agri machineries. We design and we fabricate processing for both of the processors in Nigeria and Africa, and we actually work on the marketing and different aspects of it. So these are some of the machines that we designed years back in Africa and Nigeria and sent to different African countries, and they are working. I can tell you categorically that in the 90s, Niji Lucas set up most of the eateries in Nigeria, even the one in Ghana. These are the mold, these are the oven that we started with, and they are working well then. So then later, that makes us to set up a fast food, which is set up in Osun in the early 2000s. Then these are fast food. Then we set up a nightclub.
Hello, sir.
Generate money.
Hello, sir. Sorry to stop you a little bit. The PPT is like it's not moving.
Okay, it's not moving.
The slide, yes, the slides.
Okay, where is it now?
I think it's still on the first page here, or I don't know if some other people can see.
Sorry, first page.
Still on the first page.
First page.
Still on the first page.
Yes.
Please, sorry, can you enable participant sharing so that I just share from here?
It's up now. It's up now.
Okay. I'm sharing the screen.
It's up now, yes.
It's up now, yes.
Mr. Yusuf, I think you have it. Can you share from your end?
It's up now.
It's up now.
It's good
It's up now.
Okay, it's up now.
Yes.
Okay. Where are you now? Which one can you see now? So I can start all over.
Ripples
Ripples fast food.
Okay. So
That's slide 9. You're on slide 9.
that's slide 9. So that's part of the. So that's part of the eatery that was set up. Let me see whether I can move to the next slide. Not moving. I'm coming. Okay, I think it's moving now. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So these are the hotel I set up just to raise easy money for the project in the farm. So that was in early 2002. Then these are some of the food we set up in Niji Foods. So when we set up a Niji Food Processing, and these are some of the products that we produce. We have a high quality cassava starch, so which is 50,000 inputs. We produce for Nestle. So this is high cassava flour in replacement of wheat, which we develop in Nigeria and we're doing. We've been able to automate gari processing in Nigeria, which we export to different African countries, the processing and even the gari. We've been able to add the taste to our food, which is odorless, and I've been so all over the world now. And we have a yam flour. We are setting up a feed mill now and animal feed. That's what we've been able to do in the Niji food production. So this is the machine that designed by Niji Lucas. We went in from traditional way of frying to this mechanized way of frying, and this one is being adopted and being used all over African country. So this is some of the equipment that we decided to set up on the starch line. So this automated will be designed by Niji with some of the partners in China, and it's a modular one and it's working effectively and is having optimal power management. So when Professor was saying there's no way you design a machine without involving the people who knows about the equipment or who are going to use it, is actually correct. So these are some of the products that we process and produce. These are some of our packaging from Niche Foods. Then we have one of the biggest cassava farm in Africa. We have over 4,000 acres of cassava. This part of our cassava field has been using a good agronomic practice. You can see you hardly see wheat. It's only cassava that you see. So these are one of our farm. Then these are Niche Foods, Niche Farms. You can see 4,000 acres of acres of farm. We've done it to maize, and we've done it to different aspects. This is equally our farm processor. So this is our maize farm. So we went into maize, and we thought that we could actually do maize the way the Western world are doing maize, and we did it, and our maize came out fine. So which means we can achieve a lot in the area of maize. Then we partner with a company from China, we bring in SKD tractors, and we assemble in Nigeria that can actually fit into our own vegetation, and they are working well. So this is the training school that we set up in training people who want to go into agriculture on different value chain. So these are what we've been able to do. And a lot of people have been coming into the training school from all the African countries, not just only Nigeria. So they have been coming in. They have been coming in. So this is not only Nigeria. So these are some of the people that have gone into training, who have actually gone into training with us. So those are the IFAD people who have been into training. These are some of people from NISA who want to be lending money to agricultural lending in Nigeria, and they visited us to understudy what we are doing. These are training school on the farm. Then this is the last one we received, the Consular General of US that came to visit us when he heard about us, the good work we are doing, and he came to visit us, and we were able to rub mind on how to promote and project African initiatives. So this when we're discussing on African problem. So it's a good thing that the organizer of this program are coming in at this right time, which means that the knowledge they've gained, they don't need to wait until they get old before they start bringing it back to Nigeria. I think this is the right time for them to say, what can we do together? Well, I'll get to that level whereby we're going to need them, and they're going to be involved in how to develop Africa. These are some of my visits to Silicon Valley in 2016. This, when I visited a company in US, who is to Timor, that designed the tractors. A tractor can perform up to almost 20 different operations. So I've been there, I've seen it. This is when we're looking for alternative energy. I was in Austria to look for how we can use biomass and biogas to work in the rural area because there's no electricity. We can actually share views on that and discuss on different initiatives that we've engaged in for different people that we're inviting to come and participate in the development of African countries. So this is the carbonated drinks that we're working on with some company in Germany. These are other initiatives on how we can actually develop a sugarcane factory in Nigeria. So that's a lot we've been able to do. So let me go back to how to assess funding for innovative agricultural solution in Africa. So we are asking that training as a farmer is too big. So we've been able to break it down to say we can train people as a service provider along the value chain. So pick a particular service along the value chain, agricultural value chain, and specialize on this so you can render services to other farmers. Then you need to grow in V-shape because people want to grow and they want to grow big. So they tend to borrow money and they are indebted for a very long time and they are unable to grow. But you have to learn from the system and you grow in the V-shape. Then be involved in demand driven. So like we look at what China needs, we look at what we can produce in Nigeria, then we work together like what Ambassador just said, what we can borrow from China and to other countries in order to develop Africa and get into collaboration. I think you mentioned that too. Then we have to volunteer. Everything is all training. When Professor Saibu was talking about the poor rural farmers, it's difficult to change the mindset of poor rural farmer. But if our young ones from diaspora are coming in, like the way they are doing that, and we're involving the young ones into farming, that's why we can see a success. So they need to volunteer and serve as a volunteering in the system so that we can grow the project together. So we can aggregate ourselves together and develop INGRA system of farming. So what we've been able to do in respect of that, we have been able to create what we call a sustainable city, whereby Ninja Group put almost all the 7 different businesses in one place. So it now makes it easier for us to grow faster because we have different processing centers in one place. So we're using one management to manage everything. And we use one source of logistics, one source of accounting officer to manage everything. So it actually reduced the cost. So based on that, we're now working on, okay, we can do what we call agri-city. So we are now moving to agri-city. The one we have been able to do is sustainable city, and that's what we're able to put within the sustainable city, and that's the level at which we are. So the agri-city project, that's what we are now asking people to actually form a clusters with some of the people in diaspora and some of the doctors in diaspora that, okay, for the lesson you've learned, so we have a template that we can create in Africa and it can be replicated all over the Africa. And that's why we're calling people this innovation that we really want us to work into. We call it agri-cities. It's going to be an agrarian environment that the kind of life you are living in any part of the world where you can create within the agri-city. So you can see that you have a kind of agro-industrial park activities designs. You can see the education and training they are on it. You can see farming and raw materials service center on it. You can see the processings are there. Then the testing, research, development are there. So it's a whole city sitting on almost 10,000 acres of land in the Oyo State that we can actually look at it if they are interested, and we can look at how we can adopt some of the technology and some of the training and some of the experience we've gotten all around, all over the continent, and put it together and create a system that works. Because Ambassador was saying that there's none of the system that works in Africa apart from the Rwanda template. But we develop a template in Nigeria that will work better and it can actually raise our GDP and increase our foreign earning effects in Nigeria. So that's a little of what we've been able to do on the project. So these are 32 years of experience in the agribusiness. So I welcome everybody and thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you from our caller Wale for sharing your success story with us. This is actually a very, very good story, and it shows that cassava can be processed into different products and sustainability can be achieved by training young farmers through the Ninjin Institutes. And also you've been able to use the technology that fits in your agro business. It's a good success story. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. You're welcome.
Please, friends, join me to invite the Chief Executive Officer of Eat Healthy Palm Oil Productions Limited. She is Miss Chinyere Luke. She will also be sharing her company's success story and UNIDO Global Call 2022 success story and its potential to advance sustainable innovations investment and reduction of agriculture of Africa's exports deficits. Ms. Chinyere, look. Please, are you here, ma'am?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon
Okay.
from
Good
Nigeria.
afternoon. Wow. Thank you.
And
okay.
thank you so much for having me here. Sorry, I'm unable to share my screen. I don't know.
Okay, I think he needs to stop sharing his slides so you can share.
Famakola, please, can you stop sharing your screen? Okay, so while we wait for him to do that, let me start by introducing myself. Thank you so much once again for having me here today. It's such a privilege for me. So today I'm going to be talking about my UNIDO Global Call 2022 success story and its potential to advance sustainable innovations, investments, and reduction of Africa's export deficit. So being recognized in UNIDO Global Call was a huge source of encouragement for me. It has strengthened my resolve that I'm on the right track of contributing my own parts to the palm oil production industry, considering the fact that this has always been a passion and a burning desire in my heart. It has given me exposure and has been instrumental to the knowledge I've acquired about the production sector. So this is a great feat. It is an intriguing journey for me. Okay. All right, I believe you can all see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
All right. So this is a great feat. It's an intriguing journey for me, and I am so excited because as a country with vast landmass for the cultivation of palm fruits, and from being the world's leading producer and exporter of palm oil in the 60s, Nigeria has retrogressed to being the net importer to meet growing domestic demand. So the need to compete healthily in this sector and contribute my quota, thereby placing it amongst the leading producers and exporter of palm oil, becomes imperative for me. So this is not just a desire to run a company or to own an organization. This is more like what's it called? This is a passion. This is more like a family business which I'm trying to improve upon. Because growing up, this is my family business. I can recall those moments where we have to run around, help gather the fruit, supervise the cooking of the oil, and see through the process, and the joy that comes upon the face of my parents when they're able to actually meet the need of people through, of course, the palm oil production. Okay, so this is more like, this has strengthened me, it has given me enough encouragement, and I am so optimistic that this is the sector that I can thrive in. So as you can see, as recent as last year, Nigeria still imported crude palm oil into the country. Nigeria imported crude oil worth 20 billion Nigerian naira. So we have large land mass for the cultivation, and the number of palm oil mill that we have in existence is actually quite a huge number. So, but due to so many challenges, probably due to insecurities or due to lack of capital for funding of this palm tree cultivation, we have a large land mass that is lying fallow in almost all the states in the country. So we do not even need to go into deforestation. We have existing lands that can be used, that can be cultivated upon. So I think moving into this sector will be my own way of contributing into the production and helping to reduce the rate at which Nigeria brings in this crude oil that can be naturally produced in the country. So what is Eat Healthy Palm Oil's potential to advance sustainable innovation? We tend to advance sustainable innovation by focusing on acquisition of technologically advanced equipment, leaving a minimal carbon footprint and thereby maximizing profit. Like I said earlier, this is more like the business that my family does, okay? But it is, we still practice the crude method of production. So the Eat Healthy Palm Oil, which is the company that I run, is going to acquire technologically advanced equipment, which will have greater advantage compared to the already existing production method. So the advanced technological practices will ensure less waste for the palm fruits and the environment. It will produce a more robust and healthy palm oil. It will further reinforce the company's motto, which says healthy consumption elongates life expectancy. Okay, because palm oil, as much as it is also needed in the cosmetics industry, it is also used in virtually every type of food that is being consumed in our world of today. So we cannot overemphasize the need to produce hygienic palm oil. So we would as well partner with environmental analysts in order to ensure compliance with having a healthy environment, which will be conducive for all. As someone who grew up in the West, I grew up in Ibadan, Oyo State. So Oyo State is basically an industrial environment. So you see waste all around the environment, not really being properly taken care of by some of these industries. And then you see some rivers, you see industrial waste being littered all around. So this is not the type of company that we intend to run. So we'll be partnering with environmental analysts. We will not take for granted the need to ensure that the environment in which we operate in is properly and we're taken care of. For the next two slides that will be displayed will just suppose the transition that my company seeks to contribute to the palm oil production sector in Nigeria. So as you can see in the image on the right side of this slide, this is the already existing type of production which has been in existence for so many decades. So it's the disadvantages of this outweighs the advantages. So this type of production is characterized by high chances of work and health hazard, contamination of the produced oil, exposure of workers to danger and factory accidents due to the oil spillage all around, unhealthy production environment, constant emission of smoke, which is a serious climate hazard. And many factories still operate this type of production in Africa and in Nigeria, which is sad enough. Okay, you can see the environment all littered and all of that. So if you're not familiar with the environment, you could be exposing yourself to quite a number of danger. Okay, from the contamination of the oil to even maybe getting a fracture by slipping on the oil or any of those. So from this, we intend to transition into producing with, this is just merely a graphical representation of what we intend to use for our production. So the machines that we'll make use of will be powered primarily by solar energy, which generates power from the sun with no emissions of greenhouse gases. So considering the fact that most companies that operate in these days, they make use of generators, which most of them emit smoke, and they also contribute to both noise and air pollution. So we would be diverting a little from there and focusing majorly by acquiring solar energy as our means of power generator. So producing with machines such as can be seen here would ensure the safety of the environment, the workers, while producing the oil in a hygienic environment, which leaves no room for contamination. This method is less mechanical, it is less hazardous compared to the crude method that exposes workers to more harm. It requires more time and energy, has a higher risk of contamination, and the environment is less hygienic. Okay, this will not require as much energy as the crude method of production will require. So currently, very few companies operate this kind of production in Nigeria, in the palm oil sector, where we have big names like the Prisco oil, the Epomo oil, and the rest. So there is still need for more companies to come into production with advanced equipment such as this. So we are very much aware that no organization thrives or works in isolation and expect growth in the form of innovation. So therefore, we will ensure compliance with government business policies, rules, and regulations, while also investing in research and continuous development to ensure effectiveness in sustaining the standard of the organization. Another important thing we're going to be taking note of is staff training, in-house and external. It will be carried out in innovative ways such that will leave no knowledge gap on field, and it will keep everyone abreast of globally acceptable practices. Okay, so staff training, as much as our focus is on production, we cannot expect a robust or healthy production if our staff are not properly taken care of, or if we have some knowledge gap that is left on field, because our aim is the global sphere. We want to compete on the global level. So we cannot just limit our staff to local training or local knowledge acquisition. So we'll be investing, and in the form of innovation, we'll be investing in our staff both in in-house training and external training, which will sometimes involve sending them even out of the country when necessary to acquire some knowledge that will help to facilitate effective production of the company. So on investment, how will Eat Healthy Palm Oil contribute to investment? So we will invest richly in the acquisition of modern and efficient equipment for the best output in order to remain consistent in quality delivery while also upscaling on production capacity. Of course, for as a startup company, for a start, we're considering producing between 100 to 200 tons per day. So we're going to, as we keep gaining access into the markets, as we keep gaining access into the international market, we'll keep upscaling, of course. We will not expect the machines that are able to produce in such capacity that can produce, say, 200 tons capacity to also be the same, the same equipment that we'll be using when we start running in 500 tons or 1,000 tons. So we would keep investing in acquiring effective and efficient equipment that will help to ensure the smooth running of the organization. So we would invest in staff training, like I've said earlier, and their development. We will equip workers with acceptable work ethics, which will improve the overall output of the company, thereby gearing towards goal achievement, which is to be amongst the world leading exporter of palm oil. Workplace safety, like I've mentioned earlier, will be taken adequate care of. Hygienic production and effective risk analysis and management will also be actively invested in. We will also be invested in the health of our staff, because we cannot, the staff that will be in the production, in the production mill, have to be healthy in order for them to carry out effectively the tasks that they've been assigned to do. So regular checkup will be put in place and will ensure the safety by providing the adequate gadgets and equipment that is needed for them, for their safety in the workplace. So we will ensure an effective CSR, which will serve as a way of giving back to the society, is put in place. So as much as our main onus is on production, we would not leave out the importance and the role of corporate social responsibility as a way of investing back into the environment that has given us the opportunity to produce. Okay, it could be in the form of probably giving more opportunities to the locals of the environment who have knowledge or who have one thing or the other to contribute to the company. We could make it in such a way that will give them more opportunity to be part of the company. And it could also be in the form of attending to probably one or two needs in the environment, if it is within the reach of the company to address such. So if there is a need, if there is a developmental need in the environment which we can step in, of course, we will come in and assist in such areas. So how does Eat Healthy Palm Oil intend to contribute to reduction of Africa's export deficit? So I'm going to be quoting the statistics here. So according to Statista, which is a provider of market and consumer data, in the fourth quarter of 2022, Nigeria imported crude palm oil worth nearly 20 billion Nigerian naira, like I've said earlier. And currently, according to a 2019 statistics by the United States Statistics, Nigeria contributed only 1% to the global production of palm oil in the world. So this is relatively low, considering the fact that Nigeria used to be among the world leading producer and exporter in the 60s. And currently we are just contributing like just 1%. This is relatively low compared to where Nigeria should be. So this is not so good for the economy, considering the fact that Nigeria has consistently spiraled toward dilapidating economic relevance. And the fact that we could generate internally the palm oil needed and as well export to other countries. We will keep having the high rate of export deficit if we do nothing to the rate at which we import things into the country. Like I said earlier, we have large land mass. Okay, so many of them are lying fallow. Cultivation is not taking place on them. So if we go back into cultivating on this land, investing in this land, and ensuring the production keeps running smoothly, of course, we will reduce minimally the rate at which we import things into this country, which will in turn help to reduce our export deficit. So as a startup company, one of our goals is to serve as a leading producer of cleanly refined palm oil, which will extend its circulation beyond the shores of Nigeria. This will help in reducing importation of this raw material, which is in high demand by two major industries, which are the cosmetics and food industries. In these days, we have so many fast food industries because it seems like at this age and time, many people do not really even have the enough time to actually stay at home and prepare their meals, or for one reason or the other. We have so many occasions, we have so many events, we have so many things going on. And of course, as Africans, food is usually a part of our occasions. Virtually every occasion demands food. And virtually no food is prepared without palm oil extract or palm kernel extract, either the palm oil or the granite oil. Okay, so if we stop the importation of at least this one, it will go a long way in reducing our export deficit. So concurrently, the value of the Nigerian currency keeps falling due to the excessive importation and little to no export. If my company makes it into the production sphere, it will contribute to reducing our export deficit, which seems to be weighing heavily on the economy, contributing to job loss and inflation, thereby hindering the growth of domestic industries. So lastly, the growth of Africa's economy is instrumental to long-term poverty alleviation and sustainability. One avenue through which this can be achieved is through the palm oil production sector, which will create more job opportunities for the youth and women, which will ensure food security and economic stability, while also providing employment for the skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled people. The location of its elder palm oil production mill is in an environment, is in a Ebonyi State, is in an environment where there are tertiary institutions. Of course, we have it in plan that when the production mill becomes effective and starts running, it's going to operate in such a way that students in tertiary institutions within the environment can come in and do some part-time jobs, which will serve as a way of bringing in more income for them. So they are not totally dependent on their parents or on their guardians. So they are schooling and they are making money. So and the production mill is not only going to be for the skilled people, we'll also be needing the unskilled people, where we have the locals, those that do not even have any formal education. They can come in and work. So it's going to provide job opportunities for the youth, for the women, for the skilled, the semi-skilled, the unskilled people. So it's going to serve as a way of giving back to the society, of contributing to the society, and will also be a way of generating internally what will normally be imported into the country. So I hope that this my presentation will be carefully looked at, and that it will motivate sponsors who will be willing to help to reduce Africa's export deficit, who will be willing to ensure that more production companies are being effective in the country. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was a good one. Thank you very much, Ms. Chinyere Luke. Thank you for reminding us that we are behind and we are now major importer of palm oil. We used to be a major exporter of palm oil, but now we are behind, we are lacking behind in our production. And you shared with us your story and the need to produce refined, healthy palm oil. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And palm oil is very important. Apart from the nutritional value, it's very important. It's found in almost all our meals. Yes, it's very important. Thank you very much. We'll move to the next speaker, who is the coordinator of Wasomi Charity Foundation. As we all know, Wasomi Charity Foundation and the organization of African Academic Doctors organized this conference series. We'll be inviting the coordinator, who is Mr. Yusuf Fadaro. He will be speaking to us on Advancing Innovation in Africa, the Place of Non-Profit Charitable Organizations. Mr. Yusuf Fadiaro is a PhD student in Sujo University, a lecturer at the University of Lagos. He is the coordinator of Wasumi Charity Foundation, global operations strategist in Jewel Global Limited, African political economic analyst. He has written many and local international papers. Please, Mr. Yusuf. Sorry, are you here?
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here today. First of all, I want to greet the Consul General, Ambassador Ogu. Thank you for coming. Professor Shaibu, Famakola Wale Adeniji, Miss Luke, thank you very much for coming. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to use this opportunity to say a big thank you for joining this special conference. So today is about the United Nations World Creativity and Innovation Day, UNIDO Global Core, Sustainable Development Goals, innovation and broad-based investment in Africa. And I'll be speaking on advancing innovation in Africa, specifically focusing on the role of non-profit charitable organizations. I don't have a PPT because I'm just going to be sharing my experience based on running Wasumi Charity Foundation. All right, so the exact number of non-governmental organizations in Africa is not known because they are, we know that they are involved in many sectors of African society and they have significant impact on these sectors. So it is a known fact that most prominent NGOs operating in Africa have non-Africa origins. So talking about international organizations, we know that hundreds of thousands of dollars come into Africa yearly in the name of AIDS. We also know that all of this money flow into Africa. Most of the time, Africa has little or nothing to show for it. Then, at this point, I think the right thing to do or the right question to ask is that are Africans actually benefiting from this funding, from these aids? So it has been argued that some of these NGOs are involved in actions that destroy local business initiatives. For example, some organizations go as far as dumping things in large quantity on Africans, which may have a lot of spiral effect on the local economic situation of the environment. And some NGOs often go as far as supporting bad governments to stay in power. We have heard of corruption and mismanagement. We have heard of lack of collaboration and coordination. So all of this, besides generating publicity for these public donors, for this NGO, for these donors, what exactly are the things that we can say, that we can hold on to, that these NGOs operating in Africa, these foreign NGOs operating in Africa are useful for? Well, I think we do not want to say, or we cannot say that aids are completely not useful in Africa because NGOs have been very instrumental in the survival of internally displaced people and refugees in Africa. For example, we always hear of many thousands of people who are displaced. Or put another way, thousands of people who are fleeing a country as a result of not only wars this time. Some other people are fleeing their countries because of their religious affiliations, because of education, because of different kinds of things that they are being persecuted for. So these Africans who are mostly treated as mere numbers in our news media, because we have thousands of people who have been displaced, we only treat them as numbers. So it's only these NGOs that have what it takes to bring humanity back to them by providing humanitarian assistance. So, or should we talk about very rural communities that, some very poor rural communities that we have in Africa that lack some basic infrastructure? So it is only if we want to shy away from the facts or shy away from the truth that we would say that those communities do not exist in Africa in their numbers. I have had a first-hand experience, a first-hand witness of this type of community growing up when I used to follow my dad to his farm in a place called Emiloro in Ondo State of Nigeria. We would walk for several kilometers to find drinking water during the dry season. So I remember the community had two pump water system installed by some NGOs, but soon became abandoned. They became abandoned projects because no one was able to come up with the idea of repairing them when they went bad. So my point exactly is that NGOs can be very good to the rural communities in Africa, and they can be very bad unless there are some accountability and proper regulation of the NGOs by the relevant government bodies. So they must be held accountable to the communities they serve, and they should prioritize the need of local people. Just like Professor Shaibu said concerning a Yoruba adage that says that you can't shave somebody's head in his absence. It is not possible. So to do this effectively, for these NGOs, foreign NGOs that are coming to Africa, because we know that we have them in large numbers than even NGOs that are domiciled in Africa. So they must carry out a need-based assessment of their proposed projects, ensuring that they are addressing the most pressing concerns within these communities. I remember last time our organization were planning to supply a local community in the community is called River Cess County in Côte d'Ivoire. So we're planning to supply them mosquito nets to mitigate the effect of malaria causing mosquitoes in the community. So after visiting the village twice and talking to the Council of Elders, our representatives, some of our members that are representing us in Côte d'Ivoire, they told us that the community were very, very receptive. They were very happy to the extent to have people coming to check up on them, because the community is very very far from the main cities. So they received them very well, but they preferred for us to supply them solar powered street lights instead of mosquito nets. So because that is exactly what they need, because they said, okay, at night it's usually very dark and very quiet, and wild animals disturb them a lot in that environment. So they would prefer that we supply them street lights instead of a mosquito net. So all I'm saying is that engaging local knowledge and expertise is vital to the success of NGO projects, most especially in countries like Africa, where we have different cultures, we have different, okay, let's take Nigeria, for example. We have more than 500 languages, and these languages are connected to different cultures. What an NGO does in society A and does it successfully, it can never happen in society B. So they have to, non-governmental organizations have to study what exactly obtains in a society before they go ahead and do projects there. So somebody could ask that, okay, we are an NGO, right? So what exactly do we do differently? I mean, we're so many charity foundation. To this question, I would say that we are a group of Africans who are committed to growing our rural communities, one family at a time. So in line with Farmer Kolawole Adeniji, he said that our main attention. He said that one has to. There was a point he said something about funds, that it's not about the money that people can get from outside. It's about what we can do as individuals. So I think that is very important in our own ideology as an organization. So our main attention is not about the funds, but what we as individuals can bring to the table, be it the experience that we have gathered over a long period of time, or be it our time, be it the information that we have, that could positively affect the socioeconomic well-being of the people in African rural communities. So in conclusion, I would say that NGOs play a significant role in advancing innovation in Africa. However, it is crucial, it is very important to examine the actions, their actions, and ensure that they are genuinely benefiting the people they serve by prioritizing accountability, proper regulation, and local engagement, which is the most important. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf. Thank you for sharing the roles and the importance of non-governmental organization, your organization, the WASOMI. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And you also said it's very important we have a good monitoring system. I think we somehow lack this in Nigeria, the monitoring and surveillance, because so many NGOs would, in quotes, claim that they care about the welfare of the people, but just to maybe get the fundings and that's it. But today you made it known to us that the role of NGOs should be about the welfare of the people they are serving. And it's an important organization, the non-governmental organization. Thank you very much. Without wasting much of our time, please, friends, join me to invite the president of the Organization of African Academic Doctors. He is no other person but Dr. Elijah Odi.
Okay, thank you very much, our moderator. And
thank you.
Thank you, and very great opportunity that we have today to be in this conversation. And I want to appreciate very strongly, just as others have done, in terms of our colleagues who have come to participate. I want to thank very specially the ambassador and the other speakers who have shared their thoughts and charged us towards action. This is extremely important because it brings us to a point where we are getting more and more in tune with what has to be done in connection with the innovation that must be driven on the continent of Africa. And today being the United Nations World Innovation and Creativity Day, it's good that we are able to join other hundreds of thousands of people around the world who are working hard to innovate, to drive a change in different areas where they find themselves. And what we can take note of in very strong clarity is that human civilization is cumulative and irreversible. So, and it's a good experience that the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, the effort that began in 2020 in connection with the topic I'm speaking on, which is about sharing thoughts on the UNIDO Global Call and what has happened in the past and what's going on at the moment. Of course, I'm careful to use very little time because we are already far behind time. So starting in 2020 and engaging around the world across the 5 continents, I've been able to drive the process of stimulating the minds of people all around the world. And particularly looking at what that has done in the continent of Africa, we are very much excited because of the huge number of persons, companies, and entities who have begun to think more deeply about their business operations, and also that are paying more attention to innovating and not pursuing the traditional processes that they have always been used to. And it's good to also notice those who participated in the last global call that was coordinated by the Shanghai ITPO, the Industrial and Technology Promotion Office here in Shanghai, and the various experts who participated from around the world. Knowing the beauty of what it has been achieving across the continent of Africa, in that many more people are getting involved and are thinking more about getting businesses running, and also looking around them, what the things that are within their spaces, and the conversations we're having, because we know that the UNIDO Global Call is an annual event, and the 2023 session will also be coming up. As we were informed, it's going to be coordinated by the office in Beijing. So we're looking forward to this, and also encouraging everyone to look forward to this, knowing that also one of the core activities, or one of the core focus that OAD works on, is about encouraging innovation and using that as a platform of enhancing the quality of lives of people, real people across the continent of Africa, and of course, beyond Africa, around the world where our members are working or doing research, or in factories or industries. We're able to continuously explore the possibilities that are available for people to be able to get involved in these innovative processes and bringing up the human ingenuity, because indeed the welfare of humanity lies strongly on human ingenuity. So if human beings are able to think deeply and explore the resources within themselves, we have greater chances of being able to come out of many of the global challenges that are facing the world. The more the number of people who are involved in innovating, the more the number of people who are involved in thinking about what can be done differently, what can be done in more environmentally friendly ways, or things that can be done in ways that can be more involving and inclusive of the people within the spaces, such that the human capital is sufficiently engaged towards getting out the word out there. So we're looking forward to the future engagements within the space of the UNIDO Global Call, and also the other strategies that the United Nations is putting in place with respect to the emphasis on innovation, emphasis on creativity, emphasis on using the human capital that's available to the world to drive the changes that we all are looking for. And we want to emphasize to everyone who is in this conference today that there is also a contribution that you have to make. There's a contribution that you can make very effectively by looking around you, thinking about things just beyond maybe the normal processes that you've been involved in. You can think about new ways of doing things that are still able to generate greater outcomes. And we're looking forward to being able to work with partners around the world. As we know, the Organization of African Academic Doctors brings together PhD holders and PhD students of African descent all around the world, currently in 5 continents, and connecting and increasing in number, and to work with partners everywhere to see how we can harness the respect that our people have for us. In many occasions, when people have got certain levels of education of this way, for some people is an instrument, is something to be proud of or something to show off with. But we have intentionally come together to know that this is a resource that we can harness, as it were, social capital, gathering the connections and the relationships we have all around the world to see how we can put that together and make it strengthened, concentrate it, similar to what you would think about when you talk about solar energy. You have the solar panel and you capture the energy and you use it to get things done in whatever spaces. So we are intentionally gathering the respect that our people have for us, and we want to use it to serve them. We want to use it as platform, as opportunities to make things work out for them, to create the platform for them to be able to innovate. And in many occasions where we find that funding is a big challenge for African innovation and for driving the process of things, we have heard the stories of our people, and our brother, Engineer Kolawole, who, Engineer Niji, who has been able to drive his own process and has been able to build a system that works using local materials, raising funds within the system, having the business run itself, having the business sustain itself. And this is possible because the business is producing directly what is required by the people, such that the customers determine the pace of the development of the engagement. So we are looking forward to great encouragement and great engagement as the years unfold. And we are hoping to partner with everyone that is interested in this area and other areas that we may not be talking about today, but this is something that's going to be unfolding continually. And of course, even tomorrow, we are continuing this conversation as we're going to have another company that we are partnering with that also is in connection with the Hunan government to see how we can drive the process that provides a platform for young people from all around the world, especially Africans, to be able to come up to a platform where they are empowered, whether they want to start a business related to the academia in research or related to whatever form of industry. The platform is available. There is also a funding strategy that has been put in place, which we're going to get details tomorrow from the director of the center that's responsible for driving this process. And so we'll be looking forward to also having everyone that's looking forward to this. People who want to start businesses in China, wherever you are, your location is not a barrier. You can always get in touch, hear directly from the director, and find out ways that they can facilitate supporting you, and also seeing how that can drive innovation and development in your own country, so that there can be an increasing engagement between the various peoples of the world as we work together to handle the global grand challenges that trouble us on our planet. Thank you very much for your participation once again, and I'll hand over back to our moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Odi. This is the time for questions, answers, and contributions. Okay, I can see Gerard. He said he has a question for Mr. Yusuf.
Sure.
Please,
Yeah.
can you?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Gerard.
My question is on the NGO model of development in Africa. Historically, we have had NGOs operating in Africa. Some of them started mostly at the advent of HIV and AIDS in South Africa. So mostly 1980s, 1990s, early 2000, mid 2000 up to date. And from the studies we have had, we have tried to look at, from what I've read before, is the impact of NGO in African continent. And the approach that the NGOs has had is more charitable approach, whereby the intervention is to get into a community, try to alleviate a certain problem. In Kenya, for instance, where I come from, you have had initiatives by Red Cross, you have had from other NGO in the health sector. And the question remains is the impact and the importance of these NGOs, the model of implementation and the effect they have had towards the development of Africa. And the argument was, like what I had my friend talking, what about if they approach a social entrepreneurship approach, whereby you don't get in an intervention to help. You get an intervention in society to maximize something within that society. Because also, you understand NGOs have agendas, they have funding, and like the biggest problem we are talking today, lack of funding the NGO, is on the issue to do with the LGBTQ acceptance in Africa and the issue to deal with the current economic problem we have in Africa. So how then do you approach NGO, non-governmental organizations in Africa from predominantly what has been had and turn them into social entrepreneurship enterprises, whereby it can drive forward the business agenda, it can drive forward the issue, maximizing on the resources they have. Because even if we talk about refugees and all these problems we have, you come in with an external solution to the people. At times we create so many white elephants. We have had boreholes which are not being used. We have had schools which are not being used today. We have had all these projects by the NGO. And look at the impact of NGO for the last 30 years. Is it that significant? Marginary? Yeah, but is it that great? No. What about an initiative whereby community has come up together, mobilized their resources, gotten some funding or some support from other people, and drove forward the agenda of their development with the intention of they will maximize in terms of they get money to solve their problem, they get money to continue their life. So the question comes here, should we, the approach of NGO in Africa, do we need to change it whereby we turn them not predominantly ideologically from non-governmental organization, which is charitable organization, but turn them into social enterprise that can benefit the people, people can invest into those enterprises and see the benefits, so that any donor coming in will be funding social enterprise. Like we have had in Kenya in agribusiness, we have done away with more NGO in agri, and they are more social enterprise. Farmers join together, they come together to advocate over certain products they have. Then whoever is coming in is coming to support them in terms of driving forward their economic agenda. In it now there's the social agenda, and there's all these agendas in that space. That's my query. Should we change the approach?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I got your question. In fact, just like my people would say, they said that there are many ways to kill a rat, or sorry, to kill a snake. There are many ways to kill a snake. Kudos to all the others in the house. So, what you said concerning the charitable organization being driven by social entrepreneurship. Yes, I think it's one of the ways by which we can solve the current problems of NGOs in Africa. Because if it is about the social entrepreneurship, when you bring it into NGO, when it drives NGO, they have this kind of clear social mission at their core. In fact, they seek to create positive change in the society by addressing social, cultural, and environmental issues. That is when it is being driven by social entrepreneurship. So I think, not even that I think, I know that if we change the way, and that does not sidestep what Ambassador Ogu said, that things have to be policy driven before they work in our societies. I mean, in African societies, like it is here. Like things happen here. So if they are policy driven, like, okay, if you're bringing non-governmental organization to country A, it has to go along the whims and caprices of the government, given that the government themselves, they are not bad, because we have a lot of cases whereby people do not actually believe in the government because of the precedents they have. So I believe that if we do it that way in Africa, it will work well. But the main problem will be that, are the governments ready? Are African governments ready? And again, then, if we look at African society, it is hydra-headed in such a way that, just like I said earlier on, what works in society A does not work in society B. So this solution you're talking about now might work in country A, it might not just work in country B. In fact, it might work in a section of a country A, and another section, it does not work, because the people's ways of life are different, and the way people perceive the efforts of these non-governmental organizations are different. So I think that's the answer I have to the question that you have asked. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm able to get a full grasp of your question. Are you there?
Hi, Gerald. Are you here?
Can you hear me, Mr. Gerald?
Yes, I
Gerald?
can hear you.
I said I don't know if I've been able to get a full grasp of your question.
Yeah, part of it you have addressed it, but the what remains to be seen, and I'm sorry to turn this on as if a 2 months conversation.
Please go on. Please go on.
What has happened is, if you look from 1992 South-South Regulation Report and look at what has happened with the NGO world, specifically the NGO world, it has driven forward the conversation on dependency, whereby if an NGO, even in some government, if government have found NGO to facilitate, let's say, HIV and AIDS drugs, or some schooling, like so many schools within Africa programs are dependent on NGO world. What that means is that the policymakers within those governments have failed not to invest, or even the stakeholder and the citizen have failed not to invest in those sectors because they know there's somebody who will always lift their weight. But where we are in the current situation, we need, as the African nation, we need to learn how to carry our weight. That is, you deal with what you can afford. If it's not possible, and we cannot say that there are instances that we cannot come up with solution. If the solution is water, people can suffer, yes. But if you give them the skills, and if they know the need is there and they want to solve it, trust me. The same way, ask yourself, after the Second World War and the independence of African nation, so many schools were constructed within countries like Eastern Africa. The community came up together, realized they wanted schools, community provided all the materials and resources to build those schools, and that's why those schools are there. The establishment of Botswana, what happened? The people came up together and the government said they didn't have money, so everyone contributed their cattle and their resources to establish Botswana as a state. What we need to be private of the matter is Africans, we are not inadequate. It's not that our people are inadequate. Our people have resources, but the issue of dependency with the NGO is what I have the problem. So that we need to have an ideological paradigm shift and start talking about social enterprises, whereby our people will tell them, you're doing this for your own benefit. You need to build factories. If at all we need irrigation, you people need water so that you solve your problem. You don't expect somebody, but we continue perpetuating this narrative of people, somebody needs to come from outside and solve your problem. That's the same problem we have up to date, and we are not solving the African problem. We continue perpetuating the same problem over and over again. That's my take.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I believe that we are speaking from the same perspective. Yes, if we leave all of our problems for outsiders to solve for us, I think it's a big issue. The onus is on us to look inwards, just like Dr. Odi said. The onus is on us to look inwards and see how we can facilitate our problem-solving activities by ourselves. We shouldn't just wait on others to come and solve our problems for us. So it is unsustainable if we are always waiting, depending on these NGOs to come and do things for us. And most of the times, this is why it does not work. So I was studying some information about some NGO in some northern part of in the northern part of Africa. They built a school for a nomadic people, and then we found out that they were trying to build a community. They were trying to create a life for those people in that environment. So they built a school, they built pipe-borne water, they built everything for them. And those nomadic people had to come together. They left their lives, their way of life. They came together and they stayed in that environment. And when help was not coming again as it used to, they were now dejected. It now became a problem for them to start going on with their lives as they are supposed to. So I think we are saying the same thing, that we have to stand on our own and try as much as possible to find solutions to our problem. African-driven solutions to African problems. So that is why I said that we as Africans in diaspora, we are coming together as Africans who know the problems that exist in our communities. So we are coming together to solve these problems. We are not going to be the only ones that will solve the problem. We are going to relate with the communities. We are going to let them know that, okay, we have an idea of what we want to do. Does it go in tandem with what you think you should get from us? Or what do you think we can help you with? Okay, what do you sell that we can help you market? Or how do we bring you to the global map? What can we do for you? Like, what exactly are you in need of? What exactly are you known for? How can we help you to publicize it? So these are ways by which I feel that we can find African-driven solutions to African problems, and that exactly, I think, is in line with your submission. Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Mr. Gerald?
It's okay. We can move to the next question. Thank you.
All right.
It's a nice introduction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gerald. Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Please, does anyone have any other questions or contributions to today's discussion? Okay, while we are waiting for more questions or contributions, please kindly look at the comment section. You would see our program for tomorrow. The topic is on harnessing economic and collaboration opportunities from your China experience. Rub minds with top government designated drivers. The meeting ID and password is also in the flyer shared in the comment section. Thank you, Dr. Odi, for sharing. Okay, we have someone's hands, Mr. Jacob. Please, you can go ahead with your question, please. Mr. Jacob, are you there?
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
my mic was on mute. Please, I would like to ask the Adeniji group a question.
Okay, Niji.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So actually, I'm into astronomy, but I have interest in agriculture. So I'm actually interested in yam processing and cassava processing. So I don't know, maybe I can ask my question privately, or maybe I should just make it public about the fabrication of those processing equipment.
No, anyone you like, you can make it privately, you can make it open. So, or you can send a mail to me, or you can ask.
Okay, let me just ask the surface part of the question. So, do you actually build those machines for people, and how can one collaborate with you? I actually study physics in my undergraduate and master level, and I'm actually interested in those fabrications.
We build it for people. We design and build it for people because it depends on the tonnage that you want to process, and depends on the market you are targeting. So different levels that we design for. But your output or your input, that's what we need to tell you exactly what you need. So that's it. So you can send me an email to tell me exactly which of the product and which of the value chain you want, so be able to advise you better. So there's no problem on any process.
Okay, I will definitely ask you a question. Then one more thing, is there any organization that help in export of refined products from this agricultural input?
What do you mean by refined products?
The agricultural product, I mean like cassava, yam that we process. Do you have organization that actually help either within Nigeria or within African space that help in exportation, especially to countries like China, India, that has a big population and they don't really have much of this
We have
product?
export council, and if your product meets the international standards, you observe all the HACCP and your packaging material, the quality of your product, everything, you don't have any issues with that. And you just get a export certificate, and that's all. So you can export. And you have a NAFDAC number for your products. So there's no issue. So you can export.
Okay. I would like to contact you by email or WhatsApp.
Okay. Mr. Yusuf, you give me all my details. Okay.
Oh, okay. So my name is Dr. Jacob Olukituyi. I'm in Institute of Astroparticle Physics in Chengdu in China.
Okay, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jacob, for questions. Thank you, Mr. Kolawole. We still have, we have Mr. Noah Olalekan. Your hand is up. Sorry, can you hear me? Hello? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay,
yeah.
We have Mr. Noah Olalekan. Okay, please, you can ask a question. Thank you.
Okay, permit me to stand on the existing protocol. But my question goes to Mr. Kolawole. And considering the situation we have in Nigeria right now, and I would like to ask, how is he able to start his agro-business? I mean, acquiring some of this farmland. Because why I'm asking this question is that when I graduated from school, one of the very first thing that I prefer to do was to go into agribusiness. But what really put us off with me and my friends then was the issue of this land tenure system we have in Nigeria. Youths cannot actually go into agribusiness. And as a startup with no or little fund, agribusiness is like a no-no. So when he was telling us about his success story, I was like, wow, how was he able to do it? How was he able to acquire some of this land? Was it leased to him? On how do you go about it? That's my question. I would like you to shed more light on that, sir.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. For the land, we bought some, we leased some from the community, and you actually lease some from the government. There's some government land that are fast, but the problem with the land is that the clearing, the cost of land clearing is very high. So that's it. So
Okay. And sir, and again, sir, considering the insecurity now, because like unlike before, I think it's even more rampant. Well, how are you coping with the challenges of this insecurity in the rural area? Because this is one of the setbacks now. Because as I'm talking to you now, I'm still not giving up. I still have a lot of passion for this agricultural sector. But the last time I even went to as close by as Shagamu to visit one of the farm settlement there, my colleague was like telling me that, guy, let's move out of here as quick as possible. We are actually afraid that maybe kidnappers and all the likes can just come. So we are afraid. I don't know, what can you say about this, or what kind of encouragement will you give to some of our youths that are eager to do this kind of business, and how safe, or how do you make your business so safe from all these vices I talked about? Thank you, sir.
I think something is wrong with Engineer Niji's internet. It's like he's offline. I think we can move to the next question while we wait for him.
Okay, I can't see anybody's hands, so I don't know. Because the next in our agenda, it's the vote of thanks. So, or if there are other questions, I don't know. Nobody hand is up.
I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
I would like to ask a question. Is Professor Shaibu still around?
I don't know.
Professor Shaibu? Oh, he's not around. I was going to ask him a question concerning presentation. Oh, no problem. No problem. So I think we can bring it to a close.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Okay. Please let's invite Dr. Ade. Sorry. Adedamola Shoberu to give us the vote of thanks for today's conference. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. As I've been introduced, my name is Damola, and it's my honor and privilege to be asked to give the vote of thanks in today's conference. So our most valued guest speakers, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it is my privilege to give the vote of thanks. But first, I would, on behalf of the organization of African academic doctors, the Wasome Charity Foundation, and other partner organizations. I would like to first express my gratitude to Ambassador Chimezie Ogu, who from the onset charged us with the problems facing sustainable development in Africa, and also talking about the areas of improvement. We are grateful for that because that actually sets the tone for this conference. And also a very big thank you to Professor Olufemi Saibo of the Institute in UNILO, again, who shared the role of their institute in facilitating the exchange of knowledge and expertise, especially in the field of modern agriculture. All this towards bringing development to rural areas in Africa, in this case, Oyo State in particular. Also, our appreciation also goes to Engineer Kola Deniji and Ms. Chinyere Luke, who shared their stories and also discussed opportunities for further development and sustainability. For me personally, I was inspired by your story, and I'm sure I speak the mind of many people here as well. We just want to say thank you, that you continue to do what you do, even as we also contribute our quota towards bringing about development of our beloved continent. I also would like to express gratitude to the president of the Organization of African Academic Doctors, that's Dr. Elijah, who I know personally, and also Mr. Yusuf, a very good friend as well, who shared their thoughts. And like Mr. Yusuf, who talked about the place of non-profit charitable organizations, you shared about their importance, and also the fact that it is important for them to be held accountable. Indeed, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And also Dr. Elijah, who charged us to think about new ways of doing things. I actually noted that to bring about new outcomes. Thank you very much. And also, I would like to thank everyone that is present in this conference. Without you, the truth is that there's no conference. And we truly appreciate your presence. And for all those who asked meaningful questions, because your questions actually brought more depth to what has been discussed so far. You created opportunities for further discussion, and we really appreciate that. And also, I would like to especially thank the organizers for this conference. It didn't just happen overnight. I'm sure it took weeks of preparation, and we are grateful for what you've done. Once again, let me just thank everyone who is present here. Much gratitude to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc, for the vote of thanks. And I think we would call it a day, a night.
Before we
Yes.
go, can we take a group photo? Please, I would want everybody to put on turn on their camera so that we can take a group photo, please.
Okay, please turn on your cameras.
Please turn on your cameras, please. Let's take a group photo. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Noah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tsimilane, Mr. Gideon. Thank you. Let's have more, please. Let's have more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ola. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Lily. Thank you. Okay, let's do that. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, one more. Let's have it once more. Let's have it once more. 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you. Thank you.
We're good, right?
Thanks.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope that the information we have received today, we would put them into use and as well share with others who were not able to join us today. Thank you very much for having me as your moderator for today's conference series. My name is Gloria. Do have a wonderful night and do have a great day for those outside of China. Bye.
Yes, and see you tomorrow for the continuing conference at 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay. Yes, tomorrow.